What's good, people? Welcome to this episode of Stack Sats or Die Trying. This is the Bitcoin Only Show brought to you by the Hood. I'm your host as always. My name is Jimmy. Man, listen, great feedback from last episode and I appreciate all of it. Like I said, I'm back getting more consistent with making sure I'm dropping the Stack Sats content. I like to talk about Bitcoin anyway, so if I'm not, recording it, I'm still talking about Bitcoin, so let's record it and, get it talked about. Shout out to everybody who left feedback on the audio as well as the video. Like I said, it's all appreciated. And also shout out to my brothers Corey, Kamar. We got to chop it up. We got something big coming on that front as well. Pause. Hey yo. Today's episode, I know y'all probably like real estate and Bitcoin. So it's not necessarily real estate and Bitcoin this episode, right? So I'm working on some future episodes. I still get people asking me about the best wallets and some of the questions about how to operate their specific Bitcoin, and I am getting to that. But today I want to talk about something else. I want to talk about how Bitcoin just literally improves your life. And what brought this thought about is I was speaking to a gentleman. So for those who don't know, we ran in a membership club called the MDC. We no longer have the MDC. We kind of shut that down for various reasons, but we do have something new coming. Pause. Dang.
Pause. In Jesus' name.
But anyway, so the thing is, I talk to a lot of traders day in and day out. People that trade options, people that trade futures, people that trade Forex. And I'm not talking about the MLM scammy folks. I'm talking about people who are actually traders. Some trade for an actual living. And I was talking to a couple of them, and I was saying that how often do they do their books? And what I meant by that is how often do they track exactly what their year to date is? Is it something that they do on an ongoing daily basis? Is it on a weekly basis, quarterly, monthly? What is it? Just trying to get an idea, because again, I'm also a student. I'm a lifelong student. And I do trade options, not a lot, because most of the time what I'm doing is I'm looking to position myself in leaps. And these days, those are companies surrounded, in the Bitcoin ecosystem, so to speak. But that's a whole other show. But I was just trying to kind of learn myself about the best ways to track. And it made me ask a question, right? I was talking to a gentleman, and I'm not going to, put his name out there or his business out there. But he was breaking down his profitability and showing me his books. And I think he's doing about 20% for the year, which is amazing, by the way. Like, you're doing a 20%, that's great. He's compounding his money at 20%. But what I said to him and got him thinking, and again, this is me coming from Bitcoin, I said, man, look, I outperformed you, and I didn't have to do half the studying. I didn't have to, sit there and look at charts all day. I didn't have to set alerts or alarms. I bought Bitcoin and mind my business, and then I outperformed you. So he was like, what do you mean? I said, well, at the time, I think Bitcoin was, I don't know by the time you watch this what the annual percentage will be, but at the time that I was talking to him, it was about 49% that Bitcoin was up for the year. And I showed him this, and I'm like, I'm doubling you up, more than doubling you up. And I'm out here just, running around talking about Bitcoin, going to real estate conferences and minding my business. I'm watching Big Bang Theory on the couch, and I'm outperforming you, who are spending hours every day studying. And he was like, yeah, but that's boring. And then it got me thinking, like, some people, when it comes to protecting their capital, right? I don't even want to say investing, because the thing about it is, again, I look at Bitcoin as being savings, but when it comes to protecting their capital or growing their capital, they have this notion of they want things to be fun. I get it. You want things to be fun. You want to feel more involved. But sometimes that can be to your detriment. And then I asked, well, wouldn't you like to do whatever it is you want to do for fun and just have your money just be protected? The response is, making money is what I do for fun. So I'm bringing that topic up because I want to know, like, at what point in society did we have to have like a second job of managing money, right? Certain people are doctors, lawyers, engineers, school teachers, trash men, civil servants, police officers, firefighters, whatever it is that you do for a living. And then you kind of have this second gig of protecting your capital because inflation is eroding all of our money. So you got to invest, you got to do something. And it's like, at what point did it become, has this always been a thing where you had to kind of have two jobs? Like, managing your money is almost a second job, to the point where when you give someone an alternative where they could just protect their capital, most of the time they don't know how to respond to it. And what I'm finding is people don't even understand, outside of the daily grind, what do they like to do with their life, right? What do they like to do with their life? And as I started asking more traders that, they're like, look, there's no way you can just beat me by just buying Bitcoin. I said, well, let's look at the math. Again, everything in life is a math equation. Don't take my word for it. Let's look at it. I said, I'm pretty sure I'm cooking all of you. Clearly, no debating in my goods voice.
Clearly, no debating.
Because if I'm at 49%, most traders I know, like, again, I don't know all traders, but I'm speaking about my specific circle. Y'all not cooking up 49%. You know what I'm saying? Because if you're cooking up 49%, you can go make a gazillion dollars on Wall Street. So most of y'all not cooking up, over a long period of time. You may have 1 year you do it, but over a long period of time. And if I look at Bitcoin over the last decade, I don't know most traders that are beating that either. And then I'm thinking about it like, because I've always told the story about me selling the original Bitcoin that I bought to buy real estate, because that was the place where I kind of understood more at the time. And then going back and doing the numbers. Again, everything is a math equation. Just going back to do the numbers and realizing that I could have just held them to my Bitcoin. It would have been worth more than the properties. It would have beat the cash flow. I wouldn't have had to deal with tenants calling me about fixing things. And then I'm sitting there like, damn, but I didn't know, right? So I didn't have the information, the education, the knowledge. And I know somewhere that somebody's going to watch this episode or episode of Stack Sats, and they'll start to do the math. Because again, nothing I say is investment advice, but what I want you to do is just to open up your brain and think of it a different way. But go do the math. Don't take my word for it. Go do the math. See what the math tells you, because what the math is going to tell you is you're wasting a lot of time out here chasing paper when you could just be traveling the world, man. Like I'm sitting there now, like thinking about, I want to take me a trip to Africa, man. Like, in my sincere voice, like
T, let's go to Africa.
Shit, nigga, please, be for real.
Yo, I've never been more serious in my life.
I just want to go to Africa because I ain't gotta be sitting around just figuring out ways. Now, here's what I will say, and it's going to sound a little contradictory, but it's not. And I talked about last episode, like the different mental models that I use as it pertains to real estate, but it pertains to any business. So I do try to invest in things that will produce me cash flow, but that is simply for the reason of buying more sats. I've been fully inspired by the job that Michael Saylor has done in building MicroStrategy and having a treasury strategy the way that he does. I'm not going to sit here and act like I 100% understand it, because I've read their documentation that they file with the SEC. I've listened to podcasts, but the financial engineering is like, to simplify it, you buy Bitcoin, you get a loan, you buy more Bitcoin. But what he's doing is much more complicated than that. So I'm totally inspired by it. But what it made me realize is you could simplify that. Let's just say I were to open up a car wash, and a car wash has a certain flow. That flow can then flow into sats. Let's just say I was to open up a barbershop, and that was to have cash flow. That flow can flow into sats. So I want to build machines that are being productive in society, because that's another thing, right? And I know that I've been guilty of this in the past, just like thinking about buying real estate and being a landlord. But even all landlords aren't the same, right? I'm not a slumlord, so I try to get things fixed. I try to make it a quality place to live. I try to make sure I do everything above the board, and I'm not just running properties down. So that is a service. Do I deserve to be compensated for it? That's arguable, but that's the system that we currently have. So studying Bitcoin makes me think about productivity and how a lot of people are just rent seekers, and they're not putting out anything productive in the world, not a service or a product that actually helps society. So I try to think of ways to create these little companies or businesses per se. Some would even say a side hustle, right? Imagine you started an Amazon FBA business, but you were able to cash flow after expenses and let it all flow into sats. So I try to set up as many sat flowing machines as possible. So I'm not trying to say that I don't do that, but what I'm thinking about is, outside of the productivity of getting to that cash flow that didn't turn into sats, the idea of trying to just, some people trade their way out of poverty. And I have nothing against trading. Again, I do trade. But I have to ask myself sometimes, is it worth it? Is it worth it? Because one of the things I know about traders, they don't fully do their numbers. They'll tell you about all their wins. They won't tell you about their losses. And they won't look up at the end of the year or end of a quarter to figure out what is their total percentage or what is their total loss. Now, again, that's generalizing, because some people do. But I've talked to so many that don't. They're just in it for the adrenaline rush. And it's like, dude, just open up a DraftKings account. If that's what you're in it for, if you're not really in it for building something brick by brick, as Franklin Saint would say.
I built this shit. Me. Brick by brick.
If you're not into it for building something brick by brick, then just, what are you doing? Stack sats, mind your business, stay out the way, go figure out what brings you enjoyment in life. Maybe it's walking in the park, you know what I'm saying, with your significant other. Like, I don't know a more simplified way to say that. Maybe it's shooting hoops. Maybe it's spending time with your kids. Maybe it's learning a new hobby. Maybe it's like, learning how to roller skate or whatever it may be. Go have fun in life and let the Fed build wealth for you. Let them continuously print money. Let them do the work for you. Let them do the work. Don't sit around reading 50, 11, 10 Qs and doing all this stuff. Like, go have fun, man. Enjoy life, man. Enjoy life, man. I gotta give me a cut, by the way, as I record this video. See, but here's the thing, though. Bitcoin, I think about everything in terms of sats. Like, do I really want to spend sats on that, or do I, Anyway, man, I know I'll be tripping sometimes, man. But listen, though, I appreciate the feedback, the love, man. But I want y'all to answer a couple questions. I want to leave you with this. What do you do for fun? That's the one question I want to ask is, what do you do for fun outside of the finance stuff? What brings you joy? Because I'm always amazed at how many people are in the spaces of finance, real estate, the stock market, crypto. And you ask what they do for fun, and they talk about that thing as their fun, but outside of it, they have no identity or really don't know. Let's get back to like enjoying life. Buy sats and enjoy life. Gotta make that t-shirt. Stack sats and enjoy life. Like, that's what it's really about, though, man. So just giving it my perspective this week, based on conversations I have. Make sure you pull up on Friday, by the way, because on Friday we give away about 40,000 sats every Friday. For free. Just show up, kick it with us. We talk about pop culture, movies, finance, all kinds of craziness. Friday is pretty much just an open show for us to just have a conversation with our community. And let me know what you think about my comments about, just thinking things through in terms of trading and spending time versus just, because here's the other thing, right? Man, I know I said I was getting out of here, and I am getting out of here. It's why I talk a lot about just buying the S&P 500, right? What's his name? J.L. Collins, I believe his name is. He has a book, The Simple Path to Wealth. It's an excellent read. I don't agree with 100% of what he does, but it's an excellent read where he just says, just buy the whole stock market and chill. Part of that book resonated with me. It's like, why do we overcomplicate things when the math shows us we don't have to overcomplicate things? So we can argue emotions, we can argue all kinds of things, but math is math. If the math tells you that most people will just be better off by buying the S&P 500 and just buying Bitcoin and just going and enjoying life, why do we overcomplicate things?
What are we doing this for, brother?
Anyway, man, listen, I appreciate y'all. I love y'all. Thanks for the support. Remember, as always, stack sats or die trying. Peace.